counsel, but to ask God to do for me that which I can do for myself is preposterous to my mind. Don't you have faith in America, say others? But America is made up of people. The only righteous, patriotic people work to preserve their freedom. The American people's blessings are conditioned on righteousness and nothing else. We have faith in a faithful citizenry. There is no need to learn about communism in order to avoid it, some argue. But this counsel can help keep our people in ignorance and apparently flies in the face of the inspired counsel of President McKay, who said, quote, "I believe that only through a truly educated citizenry can the ideals that inspired the founding fathers of our nation be preserved and perpetuated," unquote. And then President McKay said that one of the four fundamental elements in such an education was the open and forcible teaching of the facts regarding communism as an enemy of God and to individual freedom. Do we teach people to avoid alcohol and tobacco by pointing out its evil effects? Of course we do. Should we then avoid telling people about the evil nature and devious designs of communism, the greatest satanical threat to the spread of God's word? Just preach the gospel. That will stop communism is another neutralizing argument used by some. Did teaching the truth stop the war in heaven or convert Satan and his hosts? Satan himself, through his earthly followers, is directing the communist conspiracy. And as President Clark said, you cannot mollify an unconvertible. As members of the church, we have some close quarters to pass through if we are to save our souls. As the church gets larger, some men have increasing responsibility, and more duties must be delegated. We all have stewardships for which we must account to the Lord. Unfortunately, some men who do not honor their stewardships may have an adverse effect on many people. Often the greater the man's responsibility, the more good or evil he can accomplish. The Lord usually gives a man a long enough rope and sufficient time to determine whether that man wants to pull himself into the presence of God or drop off somewhere below. There are some regrettable things being said and done by some people in the church today. As President Clark so well warned, the ravening wolves are amongst us from our own membership, and they, more than any others, are clothed in sheep's clothing because they wear the habiliments of the priesthood. We should be careful of them. Sometimes from behind the pulpit, in our classrooms, in our council meetings, and in our church publications, we hear, read, or witness things that do not square with the truth. This is especially true where freedom is involved. Now, do not let this serve as an excuse for your own wrongdoing. The Lord is letting the wheat and the tares mature before he fully purges the church. He is also testing you to see if you will be misled. The devil is trying to deceive the very elect. Let me give you a crucial key to help you avoid being deceived. It is this: learn to keep your eye on the prophet. He is the Lord's mouthpiece and the only man who can speak for the Lord today. Let his inspired counsel take precedence. Let his inspired words be a basis for evaluating the counsel of all lesser authorities. Then live close to the Spirit, so you may know the truth of all things. All men are entitled to inspiration, but only one man is the Lord's mouthpiece. Some lesser men have in the past and will in the future use their offices unrighteously. Some will, ignorantly or otherwise, use it to promote false counsel. Some will use it to lead the unwary astray, and some will use it to persuade us that all is well in Zion. And some will use it to cover and excuse their ignorance. Keep your eye on the prophet, for the Lord will never permit his prophet to lead this church astray. This is the word of the Lord to us today regarding the president of the church. read it in the 21st section of the Doctrine and Covenants, quote, "Wherefore, meaning the church, thou shalt give heed unto all his words and commandments, which he shall give unto you as he receiveth them, walking in all holiness before me. For his word ye shall receive, as if from mine own mouth, in all patience and faith," unquote. Now, at our last annual conference in April, President McKay issued a statement on communism. It was printed on the editorial page of the June Improvement Era and has recently been reprinted by the Deseret Book Company in an attractive folder entitled Communism, a statement of the position of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Every student and every family in America should have a copy. The cost is 5 cents each in lots of 100, or 3 for 25 cents. Let me quote a few excerpts from that inspired statement, and you who have been misled into believing that you can somehow righteously avoid standing up for freedom, heed his counsel. Quote, "In order that there may be no misunderstanding by bishops, stake presidents, and others regarding members of the church participating in non-church meetings to study and become informed on the Constitution of the United States, communism, and so forth, I wish," said President McKay, "to make the following statements that I have been sending out from my office for some time and that have come under question by some stake authorities, bishoprics, and others. Church members are at perfect liberty to act according to their own conscience in matters of safeguarding our way of life. They are, of course, encouraged to honor the highest standards of the gospel and to work to preserve their own freedoms. They are free to participate in non-church meetings that are held to warn people of the threat of communism or any other theory or principle that will deprive us of our free agency or individual liberties vouchsafed by the Constitution of the United States. The position of this church on the subject of communism has never changed. We consider it the greatest satanical threat to peace, prosperity, and the spread of God's work among men that exists on the face of the earth. In this connection," President McKay continues, "we are constantly being asked to give our opinion concerning various patriotic groups or individuals who are fighting communism and speaking up for freedom. Our immediate concern, however, is not with parties, groups, or persons, but with principles. We therefore commend and encourage every person and every group who is sincerely seeking to study constitutional principles and awaken a sleeping and apathetic people to the alarming conditions that are rapidly advancing about us. We wish all of our citizens throughout the land were participating in some type of organized self-education in order that they could better appreciate what is happening and know what they can do about it. Supporting the FBI, the police, the congressional committees investigating communism, and various organizations that are attempting to awaken the people through educational means is a policy we warmly endorse for all of our people," unquote. I bear witness that this church position given by our inspired leader, our prophet leader, is sound, timely, and clear. The need for such counsel has never been greater. Brothers and sisters, I have talked straight to you today. I know I will be abused by some for what I have said, but I want my skirts to be clean. "Watchman, what of the night?" is the cry of the faithful. I have tried to warn you of the darkness that is moving over us and what we can do about it if we will only follow the prophet. Have you counted the cost? If our countrymen, and especially the body of the priesthood, continue to remain complacent, misled through some of our news media, deceived by some of our officials, and perverted by some of our educators? Are you prepared to see some of your loved ones murdered, your remaining liberties abridged, the church persecuted, and your eternal reward jeopardized? I have personally witnessed the heart-rending results of the loss of freedom. I have seen it with my own eyes.